Okay, this is a video about using the Multicut tool. Okay, so the Multicut tool is a very versatile and awesome tool for manually cutting and adding new vertices and edge loops and redirecting your topology in any way that you need, right? So the way it works is that you'll see with the Multicut tool, it's going to snap, right, to either edges, vertices, or the face, and then draw a line to the nearest vertice, right? And so if I am clicking on it on a vertice, what it's going to do is it's going to start my cut from there, right? You can see if I click on a new location, it's going to start drawing out my cut, right? And then it won't stop until I end on an edge or a vertice, and I press enter. Okay. The Multicut tool, if I start it on a edge, right, if I click and drag, you'll see it's telling me a percentage, right, which is the percentage of this line, right? If I hold shift, it'll snap to 10%, right? So I want to get it on a certain percentage, like 80%, and then on this one's 80%, press enter, right? I can do it that way. If I do it in the middle of the object like this, it's going to start the cut from a vertice and then draw it out here, right? And I can't press enter, right? Because I can't stop it in the middle of a face. I have to stop it on either an edge or a vertice. To finish my cut, I press enter, right? So I press enter. And then I can just come back and then do the same here. If I'm having a hard time clicking on my vertice, so like I'm trying to start it on a vertice, but maybe it's like really dense and it's hard to get to, what you can do is you can start it on the edge and then snap it all the way to the end. And you'll see it, there's no longer a number, it just snaps to the vertice. And now I know it's starting from that vertice, right? And I can end the same way. Okay. Multicut tool, I can also insert new edge loops. So you've probably seen this one a couple times as I was doing this, but if you hold control, what it'll do is if you have quads, like if you have good topology where you can insert a new edge loop, you can left click and I can drag, right? Let go, and then I can insert a new edge loop. And so it'll go all the way around and it'll cut a new edge loop. If I hold control and then I middle mouse click, and then what it's going to do is it's going to snap it 50% in the middle of the polygon. So it's super handy once you get used to this of adding new splitting quads or splitting squares into evenly shaped or evenly spaced polygons, right? Another cool feature is if you start a cut on an edge and you hold Control Shift, you'll see I start to get this square reticle kind of indication, right? And what that does is it will look at your edge or vertice and then go perpendicular or create a new edge or vertice, or create a new cut that is perpendicular to your current edge, right? Let's try it from this guy. So it doesn't work from a vertice, but let's go here. So I can go there. I'm going to go ahead and do it at an angle and then do it here. And so even if I start from here, on this angular edge right here and do Control Shift, you'll see it's going to draw it perpendicular to my, to this current edge. You'll see when I get to this other edge, this other one pops up, and I actually can change it so this edge is, instead of being perpendicular, this new edge I'm adding, this cut, instead of being perpendicular to this edge, I can make it perpendicular to this, my destination edge, right? I can do the same thing over here. Well, in this case, yeah, okay. So if I go at this direction, you know, it's going to hit that vertice there. Wow, good accuracy for me. And you can see, depending on which edge I want to go to, I can make it perpendicular that way, or just make it perpendicular to itself, right? Okay. The one thing, just like Bevel tool, is it's really easy to add new vertices and edges and accidentally cut your faces, because Maya is not going to prevent you from making bad topology. It's going to let you do whatever you want. So you have to be really careful of what you're doing. Unless you have a specific reason for it, I tend not to end my cuts on a edge, right? I won't end it here. I'll usually try to find it, get it to end at a vertice. And if you do that, you're never going to make n-gons. You might make triangles, but you're never going to make an n-gon. If you just add an edge on or if I do, like, let's start from an edge or end on an edge, what I'm doing when I press enter is I'm creating an end-gon, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So you gotta keep that in mind. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll use the Multicut tool for like planning, right? So I'm going to add new topology here, or I need to attach something, so I might need another vertex here, right? Let's say I need a hole that has 6 edges to it, because I'm going to attach a 6-sided cylinder here, right? So I might need another edge, but I don't want an edge loop that goes all the way through. So maybe I'm just adding another vertex here so I can properly weld a 6-sided or 5-sided, in this case, object right here, right? I just don't want to have that edge loop that goes all the way across, okay? So there is purposes to ending it on an edge, right? It's all dependent on what you're trying to do with the topology. Okay. What's nice about this also is it's great for planning out topology or cuts, like if you need to redirect it, right? So what I might do is I might want to start creating like a circular radial topology in here, and this really would depend on knowing what you want out of your topology, so it might not be something you do right away if you're not as experienced in Maya. Right? I'm trying to get this edge flow that goes around it. There's easier ways to doing this. I just wanted to do it this way. I have n-gons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. So I'm just going to cut that corner. So it's 2 quads, 2 quads, 2 quads, and 2 quads, right? So now I have this edge ring that, edge flow direction that is right here, right? And so I made a radial edge flow direction, right? And I'll probably grab these guys and probably clean that up. I definitely wouldn't do it this way, but I could use circular ice to kind of smooth it out and make it nicer. The other thing we could do is a lot of times I'll do this with booleans if I don't have like a standard boolean kind of attachment. If I'm some objects, when you, or not even boolean, if I'm going to do merging of like a one surface onto a rounded surface. So let's take this cylinder. So I'm going to create a new cylinder. I'm going to go to the attribute editor, polycylinder, and I'll just set this to something like 8, pretty low, just to make this easier. Hold J to snap my rotations, get it to 90 degrees, move it over, put it here, get these guys intersecting, okay? And then what I would want to do is I'm going to turn on, make these both flat shaded, turn on wireframe shaded, and then if I didn't want to do booleans and I wanted to actually, well, let me go ahead and rotate this really quickly, right? Let me pause this for a second. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a multicut tool on this object. So I need to prepare an entry or a hole on this object, right? I could just cut some faces and then bridge them together, but it's probably going to do a lot of stretching and some weird stuff going on. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use hold Control to insert a new edge loop for that one right there. And what I can do is I can click here, and then I can just kind of trace this shape, right, around this object. This one's not lining up perfectly, but that's okay. Let's see. I'll go across this way. I'll probably delete this edge loop right here. And I lost that multicut line. Where is that? There it is. I'll turn off X-ray. Okay, I'll click right around there. Click here, and then click back on the start. Right. So now I'll come in here and I'll just delete these faces. All right, I'll double check my polygons, and I'm noticing I've got an n-gon here, right? So I need to figure this out. And I've got an n-gon here, n-gon here. What I could do, probably one of the easiest things I could do is just merge these vertices to make that a quad. Same thing with this one. But let's first deal with this, combining these two objects. So I'd probably do the same thing on this object where I would, let's see, actually what I could do is probably easier, just make a cut like that. Go all the way around. Okay. Grab my objects. Oh, let's make sure we get rid of that stuff too. Grab these objects, merge them together, or combine them. Oop. Mesh, combine. Okay. And then I'll just bridge between these edges. That's looking pretty cool. I just need to clean up or figure out how I'm going to deal with this spot right here. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around here. Maybe I'll use the bevel tool just to kind of add a subdivision in there. Okay, and then what I might do is I'd probably just kind of slide this over and then maybe just target weld it. I'll just target weld it over here. And I do the same thing on this one as well. And let's go ahead and I'll switch back to the multi-cut tool. Okay, and then I'm just going to assign existing material blend 3 to the whole object, and let's turn off wireframe unshaded. The one thing I don't really like about it is seeing this pull right here and how it's pulling this edge, right? So I'd probably want to work with like a higher poly object, but that's actually a pretty good looking weld, right? So I can use the multi-cut tool to help me plan intersections and combinations of objects, especially something that's like curved like this, where if I just deleted those objects and tried to do a bridge, I'd have to do a lot of cleaning up just to get it to look good. And it just wouldn't really conform to the surface very well. The other option, of course, would have been to bevel it, but you know, they're kind of the same, two ways of approaching the same exact method of combining two objects together. But one is like beveling, it takes less prep work, like cutting it up, but it's you probably have to do a little bit more cleanup as opposed to the multi-cut tool. I can plan out exactly where I'm laying my topology, and I know exactly what topology I'm creating, so that's good. So the nice thing about multi-cut tool, it lets you kind of redirect and replan your edge loops. Right? It lets you insert new, essentially cut up polygons and plan out areas that you're going to modify, whether it's a uniquely shaped hole you need to make, right? If I need to make some kind of like diamond shape and extrusion or something like that, I might do something like this. Again, I'm making n-gons that I would need to fix. I actually don't know if I'm making any. No, I don't think I'm making any n-gons. All right, let's say I need to make something like that. So anything that's kind of unique or non-standard, instead of doing like a normal extrusion, this lets you do something, or it lets you have a little bit more control and plot out your topology. And it's also great for planning ways that you're going to combine pieces together. Okay, so that's the multi-cut tool in a nutshell.